what's good? Whar Gwarn, what's good? Whar Gwarn. Yo, tell me why you looking at me and my dog. Tell me why you looking at me and my dog. And approach man like, what's good? Whar Gwarn, what's good?
You and your nigger, come out right now with your hands over your head.
I got no use for nigger with sand.
Who this nigga on that name?
The right nigger.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, nigga.
Run, nigga, run. The paddy roller catch you. Run, nigga, run. Well, you better get away.
Are you a white person who's wondered why the fuck you can't call black people niggers? It's not fair, is it? Because they say it all the time, but you just have no access to this word whatsoever. Well, this is Tootbox Media, this is Whar Gwarn, I'm Ciaran Calum, and if you watch this video, you're going to find out exactly why that's the case. Also, if you do like the video, then please like, subscribe to the channel, and drop us a comment. And it is highly unlikely that anyone who's watching this video perpetrated any of the racism that this video is going to cover. So don't think that you're being blamed. This is just history of black people and the word nigger. N-I-G-E-R, or Niger, is the Latin word for black. Now, around the time of the birth of the USA, N-E-G-A-R became the term that was just used to describe slaves that had been dragged from West Africa all the way to the New World to basically live and work against their will for absolutely zero pay. Over the years, through the heyday and the death of slavery, the term N-E-G-A-R then actually evolved into the term nigger, which everybody knows to this day.
A nigga's nuts. The niggas, we sell to the plant dickhead.
Nigger became used as a pejorative term to denigrate, humiliate and eviscerate people of colour, and was used in all forms of propaganda, from songs to nursery rhymes to films, and was basically just thrown at black people left, right and centre in an effort to make them look small and basically to remind them of their status in the totem pole of society. Coincidentally, the song Eeny Meeny Miny Mo didn't originally go catch a tiger by the toe, it was actually catch a nigger by the toe. But more importantly than the actual word itself and the fact that it was used to humiliate and eviscerate people, was the actual social conditions that black people were living in at the time when this word was just so widely used. These were social conditions in which they couldn't vote, serve on juries, live their lives without the constant threat of being beaten up or lynched by violent gangs. A time in which the government systematically did what it could to ensure that they lived in really poor, broken down areas and were denied access to get bank loans to move out of those areas, regardless of whatever professions they had and regardless of how good their credit rating actually was at the time. And this is also a time in which segregation was a huge issue as well. So we have the segregation of schools, public places, restrooms, restaurants, drinking fountains, that sort of thing. Let's say we had a restaurant, assuming that restaurant was actually willing to accept black custom, and many of them actually weren't. Well, what they would likely do is they have two entrances. So you'd have the black entrance, which would be sort of at the back, at the back that people didn't actually see, and then you would have the nice white entrance, which was at the front. Public transport was segregated. Blacks had to sit at the back in the naughty corner while white people got to sit at the front. Coincidentally, if a black person was sat in a seat and a white person wanted that seat, that black person was obligated to get the fuck up and give them that seat, which is pretty interesting. Now, everything pretty much kicked off in the civil rights era, which was from about 1954 to 1968, in which people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X led legions of black people all across the USA to basically start campaigning for their rights and enter segregation and just the ability to live with the same sort of freedoms and, well, freedoms as white Americans. The civil rights era was kicked off by a number of incidents, a couple examples of those being the 1946 blinding of a World War II veteran called Isaac Woodward, and the Rosa Parks incidents, in which a black woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus to a white man who felt that it was his duty, or should I say his right, as a white American, to have that uppity black bitch get the fuck up out of her seat and give him her seat. Blacks campaigned and fought with everything that they had to be treated equally by white people. As a result of the 1960s civil rights movement, the stock of black people in America and their rights and their abilities to live their lives was basically increased greatly. And this coincided with a shaming of the word nigger. So the word nigger went from being a word that was absolutely right, fine, nothing wrong with saying, anybody will say it, who gives a flying fuck what these uppity niggers think if we're going to call them niggers, they just got to deal with it. And he went from being that to something that nobody could say and nobody would or ever should say. So the word nigger was and still is seen by many black people all over the world as being symbolic of the pain and heartache of the past. And what has happened is that generations of parents, teachers, grandparents, uncles and aunties have spent years programming the minds of the black youth, myself included, to never ever ever accept anybody calling them by that word. So that brings us to the second part of the video. Now we know the history of the word nigger, why do black people actually continue to use it? Well, firstly, it's not actually all of us. It's some of us, it's a lot of us, but it's not all of us. I use the word sometimes and I do it jokingly, but I don't really say it often. I'd never say it around my parents. The general gist is that at some point, some black people started to use the word nigger. Nobody really knows when it happened. I've done some research online to find out exactly when that tipping point occurred. Nobody's really sure, but it's definitely been popularized by things like hip hop and the advent of hood films like Boys in the Hood. Supposedly, it's about the reclamation of the word, i.e. the word nigger once meant something that was really negative and really horrible, really denigrating, really humiliating, and that by having black people call each other the word nigger just to mean their friends, like, oh, this guy's my nigger, these are my niggers, I'm hanging out with my niggers. We're changing the word and effectively removing all of the pain that's associated with it. And that's kind of an interesting point, really. I can see what they're saying when they say that. But there's also a second opinion. This second opinion says that what's actually going on is internalization. If you call a child an idiot often enough, eventually that child will just start to believe it's an idiot. And what a lot of people think is actually going on is that when black people, or should I say when some black people, insist upon using the word nigger, what they're really doing is just reinforcing all of the beliefs and the cultural stereotypes of the past of black people basically being inferior, stupid, jungle bunny fucking idiots, and doing that without even realizing it. Truth be told, I reckon that the truth is actually somewhere in between the two. When I'm around certain types of black people and they say nigger, 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 talking about their friends, they actually are just talking about people that they're friends with. That is true. But then I also do see as well that there are actually many sorts of black people around the world. Some people I know, some people I'm friends with, some people I just see on TV, who I really and truly don't believe have actually lost that sort of dumb nigger mentality. Interestingly as well, depending on where you are in the world and what race you are, you can or cannot get away with using the word nigger. In the 90s, in the hip hop scene, many Latino rappers started to use the word nigger, and they were given a pass by black people. The reason being that many Latinos actually have a lot of black blood inside them. So as a result of this sort of shared genetic heritage from slavery days, they were given a pass and allowed to use the word. But then in the hip hop community, that has sort of evolved through time, and now we're kind of in a situation where in the United States, any rapper who is not white kind of gets a pass and can use the word nigger. Here are some examples.
You a stand up nigga while I slap you down like this is pimpin'.
Oakland nigga that's proud of the town I'm from.
No joke, I'm the wrong nigga to laugh at.
And that is very interesting because in the UK where I live, nobody can say the word nigger, only black people. So it doesn't really matter what friggin' race you are, you can't say the word. So here we are. Why do black people use the word nigger but then get offended when non-black people use it? Because the word nigger was originally a humiliatingly racist term used to bring us down to our knees, and is symbolic of a time in which we had very little rights and were pretty much seen as being subhuman beings. Even though some black people have basically tried to reclaim the word, as they say, we have spent so many years being indoctrinated into the belief of never ever ever letting any white person say that word to us, that there's this weird sort of thing going on whereby many of us are actually using the word amongst ourselves and have changed it now from N-I-G-G-E-R to N-I-G-G-A, meaning friends. But then anytime a white person says the word, it's like it takes us back to those sort of horrible sort of slavery pre-civil rights days when we were basically treated like shit. How do I feel about it? Really and truly, I think the word nigger is really, it's kind of just a word, and I think it's a bit funny how people can get offended by sounds that come out of your throat. It doesn't really make that much sense. When I'm with my white friends, I don't really care if they use it to me. Like, we can say amongst each other, hey nigger, you know, I will allow my white friends to use the word nigger like I would my black friends. But then coincidentally, I'm not actually perfect either, because if I'm walking down the street, and this doesn't really happen anymore because we're in modern 21st century England or USA, but whatever, everything is fucking fantastic. But if I was walking down the street and someone comes up to me and goes, "Hey nigga, what the fuck you doing with that white woman?" My girlfriend's white. I would get really offended and I would want to break their nose. So, if you were watching this video now and you're a white person, you're probably thinking, can I actually say the word nigger? Can I get away with it? As Chris Rock said,
Not really.
if you are gonna have the balls, or shall I say the cojones, to use that word amongst people, you should probably get express written permission from the nearest available black person. Anyway, that's all from me. See ya.
That's right. Whenever the word nigger is spoken, it is always followed by the same question. Can white people say nigger? And the correct answer is not really. You have to check with your nigger consulate, talk to your nigger representative, and they will tell you the nigger rules where you are at that particular time.